of course, no one's watching yet. So we're live now. I will start the... Well, let's see if this works with Windows 10. Stop preview, start streaming. So in theory, Twitch is live as well. I'm going to tweet it out. OotiniCast.live is set up for it. So it's episode 217. Spoilercast. Oh shit, who's that? Is that me?
Oh.
It is.
Sorry. Running some Audacity issues. Sorry about that.
Oh, what happened?
Alright. Sorry. Keeps playing back my audio for some reason.
Alright. Yeah, it's really important you sort that out, Lou, so we'll take the time.
Right.
So,
sorry
Looks
about
like
that.
The stream's working fine.
Yeah. Yeah, that was my audio playing. In the background?
Yep.
Spoilercast. Bloody ads.
I went through. I've gotten through the ads, and I showed that it was looking fine.
I don't worry about that. Spoilercast. So 217 now. Tweet. All right. So anyone who's just dropped in, you may be wondering what's happening because this is not our regular recording time. This is our third Spoilercast, which we'll do the proper intro to in a minute. We've got a fantastic panel of experts here, which we'll introduce again shortly. Yeah, so if you just wandered into the stream, please note, Spoilercast, no holds barred. The usual OotiniCast policy is we avoid spoilers wherever possible. This one, not even a little bit. We're going to be talking all kinds of stuff. Now, yep. So we've got some notes, which I don't think we'll share at this stage. We'll just go through as we go. They're Rachel's, so you will find a blog post with all of that on Zamzam Says at some point, potentially in the future. So, yeah, we'll please give her lots of hits once that comes up. All right, now. So, Volk and Chill, Rachel are recording. Lou, you are having issues.
Yep, I am all set now. Everything should be good to go.
All right, you are recording then?
Yes, sir.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Now, usual rules, we all know how to do this. If you've got something to say, just jump in. Because we're recording separate tracks, I can fix the overruns where we talk over each other to some extent.
Depending on your mic, you might want to change the settings in the Hangout from voice to studio, because if you do that, then it will not take over your microphone volume at that point. Yeah, if you keep it on voice, it will potentially fluctuate it. In some mics doesn't matter that much. In mine, it very much does. So I have to put it on studio.
Okay, done.
All right.
I just did mine. Any difference? Can you hear me?
The only difference is it will not alter the volume. It will say whatever leave it at whatever it sets it to. Oh, some people. Oh, it's Sisquayitska in our chat.
Yep, he had to bail because he hasn't done Shadow of Revan yet. Doesn't want that part spoiled, which is totally cool. I mean, that's why we do the warnings.
I put Spoilercast all over everything, so yeah. Maybe we should have the occasional station break just to remind people.
Yeah.
Spoilers. All right, let's stop mucking about because I'm sure we've all got things to do on this Sunday/Saturday. Oh, the dog's wandering around. He's such a good boy. Anyway. All right, going in. Any final words? I better start with Audacity as well.
I was wondering if anyone happened to have a link to the discussion about the lightsabers from the Sacrifice trailer. I can't find it. There's something on Reddit about it as well.
Yeah.
And, I can't remember what they call the lightsabers. I remember reading a discussion.
They actually identified whose they were?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. All right, let's all quickly Google it.
I forgot about it. So.
No, it's all right.
What was that? I'm sorry.
Chill. In the Sacrifice trailer, Vexen and Arcan present on a thing, or towel or something, well, 4 lightsabers from victims of people that they...
They've killed.
Oh, and you're
killed
trying to see whose they were?
Yep.
Yeah, people figured it out, but I can't remember. There was debate whether it was Malgus' lightsaber was one of them or not.
Oh, that's
Well.
outrageous.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, the discussion was about the fact that the lightsabers were mistakenly placed above the flags.
Oh.
The 2 Imperial
Right.
lightsaber hilts were on the Republic flag and vice versa.
Yeah.
But I too can't remember who they belong to.
Whose? All right. Has anyone? All right. So there's a thread here. Has anyone identified the lightsabers from the coffee trailer? Is that it? Let me put the link in.
Did
Is
you
everyone
just call
watching
it a
the
coffee
chat?
trailer?
Where can I put it? Chat. So I just put it in our Hangout chat. See if
Oh, yeah.
that's it. It should pop up somewhere. No, it's a very short thread. Da da da. Yeah, otherwise I'm not seeing anything.
Oh, there's one of the comments actually has it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, Vanzello,
Oh,
Vindican,
right. Yeah.
Chaos.
Sorry, whose are they?
and Malgus.
Someone I've never heard of, someone else I've never heard of, someone else I've never heard of in Magus.
I think Vindican is... Wasn't he Malgus's master? I think, or... Yeah, I think. I'm not sure.
Vindican.
Yeah.
I'm sure the internet can tell us.
Where'd they get that lightsaber?
It was
'Cause,
half
I mean-
of it anyway. Yeah, it's not because it's a double-bladed lightsaber.
Oh,
he had.
no.
Yeah,
he
I'm on the
was-
Wikipedia.
yeah.
He's Mario
Yeah.
Malgus' master.
Yeah.
Yes, he was in the return trailer.
Yeah.
Return trailer, yeah.
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 Yeah. I don't know.
Okay. He's the Sith that
Um,
gets killed by Malgus at the end? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. he
Put
kills
down
his
by
own master.
Malgus.
What a surprise.
Alright. Okay, so we have that.
Yeah.
Alright,
Cool. Right.
ready to roll?
Yeah. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
Alright. Going in 5. I should do mouth exercises here. Or something. Get myself all revved up.
Me.
Alright. Hi and welcome to the OotiniCast, the podcast that needs to repair what the Emperor has done. This is episode 217, being recorded on Saturday, August 1st, 2015. I'm your host Tio, introducing our third Spoilercast. Now, in our second Spoilercast, which was episode 172, we considered the life of Revan. In this show, we'll be looking forward towards the Knights of the Fallen Empire expansion, which is coming up soon. On our panel today, we have some fantastic lore, people who really know their lore. This will include our regular OotiniCast host, Chill.
Hello?
Zamzam, from the Zamzam Says blog, who did the amazingly in-depth research for this show. Hello, Zamzam.
Hello.
You'll also recognise very well-known Lou the Lore Master from the Beyond the Stars podcast.
Hello, everyone. Glad to be here.
Thank you, Lou. And very well-known SWOTOR YouTuber Volk.
Hello.
Hello. Alright, now, just a warning. Unlike our regular episodes, a spoiler cast is exactly that. Rife with spoilers. It's no holds barred, any and all sources will be brought up, and nothing is considered sacrosanct. Alright. So, we have a suggested outline for this show. What we're going to start with is a quick summary of the content that has come out since the second spoiler cast, since basically everything before Forged Alliance has kicked off. So we're going to start with that. We're going to run through Shadow of Revan and Zios, Rise of the Emperor. And after that, well, we'll hand over to Rachel, and who has dug up the most amazing stuff. Yeah, so anyway. Alright, firstly, it all started with the Forged Alliances, which was brought out over 3 game updates, leading up to the release of the Shadow of Revan expansion. So, it started with the invasion of Tython by the Empire, and Korriban by the Republic, which almost seemed to happen simultaneously. Each thought they were getting the jump on the other, but as it turned out, not so much. After invading one of the planets, depending on your faction, you discover that the other faction has invaded your own homeworld. Suspicions are raised but ignored, so Theron or Lana, depending on which faction you are, confide in you and begin their investigations, with you ably assisting. Theron and Lana track Darth Arkus and Colonel Darek to Manaan. You learn on Manaan that the Revanites were behind both invasions. Who would have believed that? But anyway, the Revanites were after specific Rakata artifacts to power the Star Forge, which they have been rebuilding in secret. On Manaan, you discover their plans to build a cybernetic army. You confront Darth Arkus and Colonel Darek, who you discover are colluding together. They escape from Manaan, and you catch up to them on Rakata Prime, and then you have the final battle, where you kill them both, and then Revan's fleet turn up. You see Big Revan there. He says hello. All is revealed. And hence the stage is set for the Shadow of Revan expansion. So, expansion comes out. Was anyone really surprised by that? I mean, or were the hints so that it was Revan behind it all? We had found out it was Revanites. Then we find out it's Revan himself.
Yeah, it made sense, I think.
No.
I remember the speculation was rife about whether it was either someone pretending to be Revan, someone, taking up his mantle, but the man himself. Yeah. Anyway.
It does make sense from today's point of view, but back then when they were releasing the flashpoints and the parts of the stories, I can't actually believe, but I'm almost certain I didn't expect that to be Revan. It was kind of a surprise.
Given what the Revanites were like when we encountered them on Drum and Cast, it's like...
Right,
Yeah.
especially when you first meet the Master, and you're like, okay, it's not this person, so...
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
Right. And of course we find out in Shadow of Revan that while it is Revan, he's been split. It's essentially Darth Revan is doing what he can to kill the Emperor, and then the light side of Revan has become a spirit that's separated from him. So it all gets very muddy, but it's definitely Revan, essentially.
Even today, I can't fully understand and explain to myself how exactly did Revan split? Who's the real Revan? How did he become both good and bad? Why is the good one a spirit and the bad form was materialized in a human form? How exactly did that happen? Did anybody explain it? I must have missed the part where they told us how it happened and what's the lore behind it.
I was trying to figure this out myself, actually. I went back and did the whole Tower of 5, Maelstrom Prison, Boarding Party Foundry, Flashpoint arcs, story arcs, to see if I could find anything. But
the only thing I could see, Rachel, from your notes was they did mention there was a claim by one of the Emperor's underlings, I believe. I can't remember who said it exactly, but essentially saying that Revan was released by the Emperor so that he would lead him to the Foundry.
yeah,
And maybe the way he released him only released sort of the Darth Revan side of him.
yeah. I think when during his Revan's torture at the hands of the Emperor and the Dreadmasters, it was at that point they were trying to split him apart. They were actually trying to do that because he wanted Darth Revan to serve him again or something.
The version of Revan that we actually fight at the end of Maelstrom Prison does seem to be the bad version, who is still incarnate at that point.
He's not as mad as when we come across him at the end of
That's true.
the Forged Alliances. But yeah, I was trying to figure it out myself, but it just seems a bit iffy still.
So at the end he disappears in a flash of force, something or other. Dark side energy, maybe. Yeah, and presumably he did survive that. And of course his gear's a whole lot more tattered afterwards, so must have had a rough time of it. Yeah. Alright, let's move on then to the Shadow of Revan expansion, which, as we all know by now, since we've probably all done it many times, starts off on Rishi. The character is summoned to Rishi under curious circumstances, which is different for each of the classes, who will each get a unique beginning, and it doesn't. Well, that's pretty much the point, that it stops being unique, and we all get the same story from that point onwards. But anyway, you unexpectedly discover that you are the leader of a pirate gang. You have to discover who wants to talk to you. You fairly quickly discover that it was a ruse created by Lana and Theron to bring you to Rishi to investigate. So that really is a big spoiler, but that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I actually don't think I guessed that at the time. Well, whatever. Bring you to Rishi to investigate the Revanite presence. You learn that the Revanites are attempting to lure the Empire and Republic into a conflict, which their agents in both fleets would then sabotage. Take out, pretty much, the fighting force of both factions in one fell swoop. You help to thwart the Revanites' attempt to destroy both fleets by destroying the Revanite jamming device. Yeah, story. This leads to a temporary alliance between the Republic and Empire to stop the Revanites and Revan, which in turn is led by a Grand Master Satil Shan and Darth Ma. You learn that Revan is attempting to awaken the Emperor so that he can defeat him once and for all, and is on Yavin for preparing a device. Da 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 da. And then we go to Yavin 4, which most of the story was, of course, on Rishi, but then the culmination of it is on Yavin 4. On Yavin 4, you overcome all the obstacles in your path thrown out by the Revanites and the Emperor's Guard to get to Revan and try to stop him. You with the combined force defeat Revan, but it is too late. Vitiate, the Emperor, is able to gain enough power from the deaths and conflict on Yavin to rise again. He is in a corporeal form, so he is now... You mean incorporeal?
Yeah, probably.
Right.
It is incorporeal.
He is in an incorporeal form, so it's now without a body, so he is now impossible to defeat. So, and that's where he just sort of disappears and whatever. Hear a bit of voiceover and get told that, conflict is coming, the Emperor is out there. And then we have the last part of the story that has been released so far, before Knights of the Fallen Empire at least, and that is Rise of the Emperor. And it takes place on the planet Zost. So that's the most recent stuff. Oh, sorry.
Still mourning there.
Very much
That's
so.
something I should do.
Yes, a small bulk, given it's 20 past 4 his time in the morning. Anyway, on Zost, you get a call from a distressed Lana Beniko. And if you're Imperial, and Theron Shan if you're on the Republic, they inform you that Vitiate has possessed thousands of troops and Sith and is exterminating everyone else on Zost. Theron has already sent a task force of Jedi, known as the Sixth Line, to investigate and perhaps stop Vitiate, but they all become possessed by him. Now, this is the first mention of Zost in quite a while. It was first mentioned in the novel Annihilation. Well, it was mentioned in Annihilation, where Theron, I believe, went there on a secret mission. And it's one of the big characteristics is most of it is in a cavern underground, which I completely missed when I missed the novel Annihilation by Drew Capishin. But anyway, that was Zost, and now we actually get to go there for real. Beautifully realised place it was. Of course, it doesn't end up looking so good afterwards. But anyway, you team up with Lana and Agan Kovac to attempt to find a way to stop Vitiate from consuming all life on the planet. While also assisting in a planet-wide evacuation, Kovac discovers that an electric shock temporarily cuts Vitiate's hold on those he's possessed. Then Theron Shan shows up and tries to help as well. Unfortunately, Supreme Chancellor Suresh, what a bitch, learns of what's transpiring on Zost and sends in a Republic invasion fleet. This just adds even more fuel to Vitiate's flames, causing more death and destruction. Bloody Suresh. Kovac devises a means to cause electric shock across New Adasta, city on Zost. This fails as Vitiate is able to sense what you're doing and stop it from working. So Lana suggests trying an electrical weapon meant to disperse any civil uprisings to slow Vitiate down. Lana and Theron team up to help get the weapon working. Vitiate comes at you with a massive swarm of possessed, but the weapon successfully shocks them all, except for Master Sorrow of the 6th line, who you have a confrontation with and defeat. And of course she is possessed by the Emperor, by Vitiate. Master Sorrow, who is no longer possessed, is remorseful of her actions, and you get to decide her fate. But ultimately, your efforts go to waste, and he gains enough power from all the deaths to send out a wave that consumes all life on the planet. And Zost, well, it didn't look that good beforehand, but then really does look pretty crap afterwards. Very grey.
Yeah.
Very
It's a
grey.
really cool cutscene.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you recall, this is exactly what happened to Vitiate's home world of Nam something, which I can't remember.
Nathema. Yes.
To Nathema. Yeah.
Well, I think it was actually a little different what happened on Nathema to Zios. Yeah.
But we will get there.
We will
go
talk
through
about
it.
that, yes.
Anyway, that has brought us up to date, and of course, now we have... Well, we don't know that much about Knights of the Fallen Empire, but what we do know, Rachel has gathered together. So, Rachel,
Yeah.
over to you.
So, as you all know, at E3 we had the press conference where SWTOR got a spot and they announced that we were getting an expansion called Knights of the Fallen Empire, and they showed us this wonderful blur cinematic trailer called Sacrifice. And that's basically the main thing we know about that. And since then we've had various little bits and pieces. Notably, we had Courtney. She recently did a wonderful story blog post called Brothers, which explains some of the backstory behind a lot of the things we see in the Sacrifice trailer, which her writing's excellent. And that was really well done. And then we've just had other excerpts and bits and pieces from other sources as well. But I did want to go over the Sacrifice trailer first of all and have a look at that. So we have the Valkyrian's voiceover, which is a bit, yeah.
Do you want to get someone else to read the voiceovers and stuff?
Yeah, I don't think I could do the voice. I'm too feminine.
All right. Chill, you want to do it?
Sure. I don't remember exactly how to do his voice, but I'll just read it.
That's alright. That's okay.
Be a little bit dramatic.
Right. A man can have A man can have anything if he is willing to sacrifice. With your birth comes a solemn vow. You will have nothing. Your privilege is the dirt. In the darkness, only ambition will guide you. The oaths you swear, the promises you make, they are yours alone. Your freedom will be wars you wage. Your birthright, the losses you suffer. Your entitlement, the pain you endure. And when darkness finds you, you will face it alone.
Mm-hmm.
Is it
So
any
basically-
wonder that
yeah.
Thixin and Narcan have daddy issues? I mean, really.
Yeah. But yeah, he's talking to his son Arkan, more or less, throughout the whole thing. It's, I don't know, it's pretty clear from the brothers, the story blog and the trailer that Arkan's obviously his favourite son, sort of, but he treats his sons not very well. His
Harshly,
son
yes.
distance. Quite harshly, yes. I was just gonna,
This is a very interesting assumption. I actually believed that he is treating both the twins with exactly the same lack of passion and interest. And he's just waiting for one of them to show promise.
Yeah, he purposely drives them away so that, all right, because maybe only one can rule, so he has to have them fight it out amongst themselves.
I've always had a feeling that the two boys are just tools and instruments for the continuation of his power. He absolutely doesn't care which one of them will prevail. It is probably clear destiny or something else, that only one of them will get to be the heir and will continue the, I don't know, the empire, will take over the rule for the empire after him. But I didn't see a favor.
Do you get the impression that they were, them as twins and working together was at least partly why they were so powerful and successful? And if you take away one of the twins, are they weaker?
Definitely.
It's just something that occurred to me.
Definitely. Both of them were just like a whole one piece. Split apart, they looked a lot weaker. We didn't see in the trailer how exactly and why Arkan was wounded and almost killed, but I have a feeling it's probably because he wandered alone trying to defeat something or someone, strolling away and separating from the brother.
Right. Do you think
They
Vexen
were a
is really
piece,
dead?
they were like what? I think so. I don't know why I don't have backups and just inside feeling. There is no point bringing him back up. He wouldn't have a role. There will be way too many new names and characters to be main and leading characters at the same time. We have
Fair
old
enough.
returning ones. We have a few new ones. It's good that we've actually lost one of them. That sounds weird, but I believe it to be true.
Yeah.
We need focus.
All right.
I used to think that as well, that I think you're right to some extent that it was a competition, more or less, to see which one would prevail, but once you read the brothers' blog, it talks of Valkorion, like, when Vexen is reporting to Valkorion about the war effort, he's, so he starts off by saying, reporting about Arkin's injuries, and then naturally Valkorion doesn't care. He's like, a report on the planet Vexen, and then Vexen's like, well, hang on a second. And then Valkorion's like, no, your brother made his choice. I told him to stay on Zakul. He's paid the price for defiance. So I'm not sure why Valkorion wanted Arkin to stay on Zakul. I don't know. Maybe he wants him. That's what made me think maybe he always wanted Arkin to be the one to take on the mantle of being the Emperor or whatever someday.
Right.
But
Maybe he knew
Vexen
something
take
bad
the
would happen
risks.
there.
Yeah. But
It seemed like
then,
a test to me, just another test.
yeah,
And
then
apparently he failed.
yeah. Apparently it was Arkin's vision. Like he's like led the whole campaign, apparently as well. So
Yeah, and Zakul, just as a reminder, is the homeworld of whoever these clowns are. The Zakul Empire.
yeah. So another interesting thing I found from reading that blog post is we got some insight into the Zakul culture, because we know very little, obviously. Like, they revere Valkorion as like a god, practically. Like, I think
Yes.
it's kind of similar to the Sith Empire in some ways, but it's done differently, if that makes sense. Like, they've taken the whole Sith thing to another level, kind of thing. Like,
I think
I don't
one
know,
major
like-
difference would be in the Sith Empire, everything is controlled by fear from the Emperor, usually. And here,
Yeah.
especially from what we read on the blog, it doesn't seem to be a fear. They just worship the Emperor.
Right.
As a god.
Because
Based on
probably he's
devotion.
good to him, because
Yeah.
he's providing, I don't know, because he's taking good care of the little things. I don't know if I should call them little people. I
And
don't
fear
know
can
yet
only
if
take
there
you
will be
so
people
far.
or something else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there was
But I also
something
believe
about-
that the quote you mentioned here about the report on the planet Texan, this is the most important line from the whole blog.
Why is
I
that?
feel like the whole blog was written and constructed about and because of this line, to show the careless and emotionless soul, or lack of soul actually, by the father.
Yeah, for sure.
This is the moment where they seem to split and completely finish whatever connection there is between father and sons. Everything from here now on seems to be on a completely different level, completely different connection and relation.
Yeah.
Vexen still obviously loves his father, because he does effectively save his life when he pulls Arkan away, who after he just jumped to decapitate him.
And it's mentioned in the blog post as well how Saxon's always trying to get Arkin to Arkan, as we know, is obviously getting increasingly angry towards Valkyrian. And, Saxon's been trying to, just say, oh, it's just his way and try and calm him down and all that. So, yeah, Saxon does have a lot of affection for his father. He's kind of... I think that the twins are the same, but they're kind of different, because Saxon describes how he doesn't have the darkness that Arkan has. Arkan has the darkness in him, so... I guess we're seeing, at this point, we're seeing how they're splitting apart until, we see it. Ultimately, we see what happens in the throne room at the end, where they do split apart, and Saxon pays the price. It's the sacrifice.
Indeed.
Yeah, and it's another interesting thing that a lot of people were trying to figure out after the blog post came out, is the guard describes Valkyrian as the immortal Emperor Valkyrian, slayer of Isaacs. So
What's an Isaacs?
Who the hell is Isaacs? We do not know. No one was able to find anything, as far as I'm aware, and I wasn't able to find anything either. So we have absolutely no idea who that is.
Yeah, we know very little about Zakul. At all, really.
But we do know that apparently this name is important to Valkyrian, because he doesn't allow the title to be mentioned freely and loudly by anyone and everyone. So apparently this title, the Slayer, the event, or whatever it was, is very important to him and his past.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I think the biggest question, of course, out of everything we do know so far is, how and why did the Zakul Empire know of the Jedi and the Republic and the Sith Empire's existence? And why are they bothering to invade? Like, why?
Why are they so damn effective is...
yeah, and that as well. Why are they so effective as well?
It does make you wonder whether the Republic and the Empire have actually been fighting themselves. Both are weakened. Though at the end of Rise of the Emperor, you don't get that impression. So, what happened? Well, that would actually make them vulnerable.
Yeah, I mean, when we get to this point in the game, we've always been siding with the other faction to take care of the common enemy. And one of the things I'd like for the game to move forward in direction is, what? When you end your class story, or the third chapter, you're back at war. Okay, and I think I'd like for us to, maybe at this point with the Zakul Empire, maybe both factions have been fighting. Because remember, we don't have the exact time. All we know is when we become the Outlander, it's 5 years after whatever has happened.
Right.
Okay, so maybe at this point, and again, even during Shadow Revan, Rise of the Emperor, we don't know how much time has passed between each of these stories.
Yeah. That would be good to know. I did want to try and find that out, but I couldn't find anything about exact dates of when, when Shadow of Revan, the events were supposed to happen, and then when Zyos was supposed to happen. So
I think
that would be
speculation. Like the class stories take place or finish roughly, or they take place around 12 years after the Treaty of Coruscant. Was it 12 years or was it like 50 or 60 years?
I think it
11 or 12, I think.
Yeah, 11 or 12 years, yes.
Yeah,
It was
I think
only
that's right.
10 years.
Yeah. Somewhere in my head I've got around 5 years has passed, and that gets us up to the current point with Zyos.
Yeah.
But I don't remember where I heard that.
Yeah.
5-ish
So
years.
that brings us to the chapter names. They did release the first 10 chapters. They're releasing the story in chapters. We're getting the first 9 chapters, I believe, in the expansion October. That's correct?
Sounds right, yep.
Yeah. And so, one thing we did learn from Lady Insanity, she's a YouTuber. She's done stuff for other Bioware games like Dragon Age and Mass Effect, and she's become interested in SWTOR recently. So, one thing we did learn from her is that the first 2 chapters, The Hunt and A Dream from Empire, happened before the invasion. And then chapter 3, The Outlander, is what the press at E3 got to see. You've probably all read
Chapter
different
3,
articles and videos describing what happens, what they saw, and we learned that is actually chapter 3 is what they saw, which is us getting freed from Carbonite by Lana. So, yeah. That's what we do know so far about the story, is basically that.
All right. So and
I've
the
heard
freezing
somewhere being
carbonite
mentioned
part
that,
happened.
especially
Go ahead, Folk.
I've heard somewhere or read somewhere that the first chapter and probably the second one, but specifically chapter 1, will be all about tutorial. Even though some of us had been playing the game for 4 years, we're being forced to go through the tutorial because BioWare wants to welcome all of the new players that will come to the game because of Star Wars Episode 7.
Right.
So I don't expect chapter 1 to be too much of gameplay, probably just introducing to you what MMO is, why is this an MMO, how to play your character, how to move around, how to behave in the cutscenes and the cinematics and things like that. There will be heavy story because I don't expect the tutorial to be boring like the original tutorial with static screens telling you click left, click right. There will be some kind of story, and by the name of chapter 2, I have a feeling that this is where we will get introduced to the Zaku Empire, but just there is going to be some kind of a hidden or almost hidden event, and slowly and patiently we will get drawn into this event or conflict. We will just learn what the hell is this empire about. And in chapter 3 we will learn how this empire defeated us.
Yeah. There's also been people speculating that the hunt is going to be like a kind of continuation from after Zyos, so we'll be going after maybe trying to hunt Vitiate. Still, maybe? I don't know. That would make sense. But
that would make sense.
And then somewhere in chapter 2, A Dream of Empire, towards presumably at the end you get frozen in carbonite.
Yeah, so Lady Insanity did describe how that happens, how we get frozen in carbonite. Apparently, I don't know exactly when this happens, if it's chapter 2 or it happens between chapter 2 or 3. The Zaku'll obviously see us, our characters, as a threat. They capture our ship, they arrest our crew, and they put us in carbonite. So we're not a threat to them or whatever. So that's basically how that happens. Yeah.
Oh well.
Kind of lackluster, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Like, oh, that's nice. Think that our characters by now would be able to put up a decent fight, but yeah, who knows?
Dark Edge Gaming suggests we capture Vitiate Ghostbusters style and use him to make a super weapon to fight the Zaku'll. That's almost plausible. But anyway, sorry. Keep going.
Zool equals Zaku'll in this case?
So then who's going to be the keymaster and the gatekeeper?
It all fits.
It fits! Alright. And something they did also release was the names of some of the characters that are being introduced. We've talked about Valkyrie and Arkan, our characters of the Outlander. Lana Beniko's coming back. And the other characters we do not know. Valen is apparently the twin sister.
Yeah,
and we're
first
actually...
mention of that. Yep.
Yeah.
In
We're going to
bubbles.
come across her. Apparently in chapter 3 she tries to stop us from escaping. But we escape anyway, apparently. Koth Fortena, we also meet in chapter 3. He's going to be helping us to escape with Lana. And HK55 is owned by Koth Fortena, I believe Lady Insanity said, so he's going to be there as well.
Okay.
So, yeah. Those are the characters.
Anyone got any speculation about which of the chapters will be played through during the live stream that BioWare are doing on in late August instead of the PAX Prime?
I think either first one or third one. Definitely not the second. I have a feeling the second one.
I was thinking it was the
be
third
very
one
important
again
for the story.
myself.
I think it would be one of the earlier chapters. I don't think they'd want to give away too much of the story, so yeah.
What about the more I think about it, the more the third chapter makes sense because that's the one that people have already seen behind closed doors. So it's the one that has been most revealed already. The tutorial will be kind of boring, but we'll see.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
But there is a high chance it will be the least fact revealing. So the least possible amount of spoilers. And I
Yeah.
definitely know that BioWare will do everything they can to not release too much spoilers.
Oh yes,
Just enough to keep
definitely.
everybody interested.
Yeah, which means
Yeah.
anything
You know, I'm
after 3 is
reading
ruled out.
the names of
Yeah.
Chapter 4 and Chapter 5, and I keep thinking, Malgus, why the hell? The
Chapter 4
gravestone.
being the gravestone and Chapter 5 being
How
from
about
the
we
grave.
discover something frozen in carbonite in Chapter 4, and in Chapter 5 we realize who's coming from the grave, and we have the cinematic material to prove that, even though it was
Indeed.
released in a
Yes.
30-second video clip unofficially.
Yes,
Oh, for
and
sure.
cut from the Blur trailer. So
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yes, so I go to all the trouble to make that.
Malgus. All right. Moving on.
Why do you guys think it was cut from the official trailer?
Yeah, they don't. I didn't want to like. I think Malgus would have taken up way too much of our attention. It would have drawn attention away from the twins' conflict. They wanted the
Yeah.
focus to be on the
Absolutely.
twins' conflict.
Yeah, that was
That was the
exactly my
official reason
feeling.
given.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was
Mm.
yeah.
And makes sense.
And frankly, look what happened when it was when they did accidentally release it.
Yes.
Everyone went ape poopy.
We all went crazy when that.
Very poopy indeed.
We have some strange father with his twin sons, and who cares? Let's see Malgus.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And just as an aside, if anyone's listening to this and they like Darth Malgus as a character, then definitely read Star Wars: The Old Republic: Deceived, because that is all about Malgus. There's some other cool side stories as well, but you get to learn a whole lot about him and about his, about what he does around the time of the invasion of Coruscant. It's pretty awesome.
Mhm.
And as an aside, Darth Brundlefly was asking, where are our rewards? I thought we got the in-game rewards, the pre-release expansion rewards, each month.
We'll get them on the 20th of October. It was confirmed.
Yeah.
You
So
have to be a
they'll come out with
subscriber
expansion.
to receive them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Well, it's either
Unfortunately-
28th or 29th. If you remain subscribed for the whole summer, we will get them on 20th of October with
The
the 1
pre-release, yeah.
week early access.
That makes sense. I mean, one of them is a freaking companion, so it's like, how is that going to come early?
Mm. Yeah, the way they worded it though made it sound like we were going to get Nico, like now. We should have had him by now, but then I realised later on that, oh no, we're not going to get him till October to the expansion, so.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There. Sad.
Alright,
but,
sorry, that was an aside.
That's okay. I was just seeing if there's anything else we could talk about that we know. I've already talked
At
about that.
launch. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Alright, and another thing we've been... I know this isn't really related to the law, but each chapter of the story is apparently going to be roughly an hour's worth of cutscenes. That's what Lady Insanity said, so that's a lot bigger than Ziost. Ziost wasn't that big. And we were
Right.
all thinking, oh no, the chapters are going to be the size of Ziost. But
are.
apparently they're not. So
Yeah, is that
From
just
what I
the
remember, the Ziost
cutscenes,
gameplay is
though?
about half an hour,
That's-
and the
cut-
cutscenes are another half an hour.
okay.
Right. So is the hour of what's going to be in chapter 3 or all the chapters, is that just the cutscene story
That's
part
just
an
the
hour?
cutscenes alone, apparently, yeah.
Not including the whatever
Mm.
missions and whatever they get us to do. Okay.
And
That's
they
not so bad.
promise to do this every month.
Yeah.
That's overwhelming.
Yes.
That's a lot
Yeah,
of
we
story.
get-
Story,
Yeah,
story.
we get the 9 chapters, and each month they're going to release the subsequent chapters up until July. I think that
Alright.
was right. Yeah.
Though if they're going to play through the whole chapter in this live stream, how are they going to do that in an hour?
Wonder how.
Oh,
We
good
don't know
point.
how long the live stream's going to be yet, though.
True.
1 hour.
Maybe.
They always do it 1 hour, and regardless of whether they have said the goodbyes, exactly
Yeah.
at the 59, it cuts out.
Yeah.
It's like they're on a very
Uh.
steady schedule, and they're not allowed to go even 1 second longer.
Yeah. All right.
Alright. I might just briefly describe what Lady Insanity said in one of her videos about what happens in chapter 3. I'll have to go off memory for some of this.
That's fine.
Yeah. Chapter 3, we start off with coming out of Carbonite, and it's Lana Beniko's there, and has told you that you've been in Carbonite for 5 years, and then she goes on about how she wants you're the only hope for the galaxy, and you've got to save it and all that, that dramatic stuff we get told all the time. So, yeah, you and Lana fight your way through the Sky Troopers as you try to escape. You have a conversation with them at one point. They are actually force sensitive, it turns out. So you can't. Apparently, there's a conversation option to force persuade one of them to let you go, but that doesn't work. So you get to fight them, and one thing that's interesting is Lana gets one of them into a force choke, and you decide whether she kills them or not. Apparently, the whole choices thing being a big deal and all that, so yeah, that will have consequences later on. Whether you kill that particular Sky Trooper or not will have consequences later on in the story.
Interesting.
And then next up you get apparently there's a story where there's something happening on the planet to something called a sun generator, and you get to decide whether you're going to try and save that or just go on and continue escaping, and you get to choose. So if you choose to save the generator thing, that gives you an extra half an hour of story. If not, then you continue on to escape to the ship.
Wow.
And
Just
then,
skip all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can skip all that or keep going, and there's consequences again for whether you want to do that, whether you do that or not do that. And then I think the next thing that happens is you come across, you get to the ship with Koth and HK-55, and then, what's her name again? Yeah, Valen, she tries to stop you from escaping. I can't remember if you actually get to fight her or not, or if it's just a conversation. But for some reason you do actually end up escaping. I don't think you actually do fight her, but you do end up escaping. So
Okay.
that's pretty much what Lady Insanity described in her video, which I think I linked. I linked one of her videos. So yeah, that's basically the gist of what's going to happen. I don't know if that's everything that happens in Chapter 3. She probably doesn't even know that either, but yeah, it doesn't sound
Remember,
like
she
it.
didn't play through herself. She watched the same thing
Yeah,
that everyone
she
else did
was
in that press conference. Yeah.
She was watching it, so this is based on what she saw, so you never know, things might be different at launch or whatever. So yeah, I think, that just about sums up what we know about the Knights of the Fallen Empire.
So if there is that way of cutting out half an hour of story, maybe that's what if they do play through Chapter 3 during the live stream, that's what they'll do, to sort of fit it within.
Yeah, apparently, yeah. Alright, so I guess that leaves us with speculation time.
Fun. Yep.
Yay! Alright, sorry, I was looking at my notes. Alright, so the first thing I wanted to talk about is the devs themselves have already come out and said that there are clues in Shadow of Revan as to what's going to be happening in Knights of the Fallen Empire. I don't know if any of you have had the chance to play through the Shadow of Revan since you've seen the trailer and all that, but I have
Pretty much.
played through it. I played through it on both factions to see if I could find anything, and
Okay.
I don't really know. The Rishi Maze says something, as a lot of people have actually brought this up, actually, is that the Rishi Maze could be a possible location for the Zukul Empire, because we don't actually know that much about the Rishi Maze.
All we know is
Unfortunately.
it is a dwarf galaxy, which means
It's a dwarf
galaxies.
Yeah, it's a dwarf galaxy that orbits the Star Wars galaxy. That's how they describe it.
Yep.
And the reason why you go to Rishi to get there is that there's like a hyperspace lane or path that makes it easy for you to get to the Rishi Maze from Rishi. So, yeah, what's actually in the Rishi Maze, we don't know.
Right. You would sort of expect it was, given Rishi Maze, but yeah.
Yeah.
And it's but supposedly, because it is in its own little dwarf galaxy, it's actually a fair distance from everything else.
Yeah.
Which is why it was a haven for pirates and stuff like that.
Hmm. Yeah, something that I did find quite interesting was when I was playing through it on my second Sith warrior character, is at the start of Shadow Revan you get the vision, like the Sith warrior has a vision, which is kind of unusual for a dark side person, but okay. Basically, your character just says that I had a vision, there was a galaxy neighboring our own, and then nothing. Every star went dim, both in that galaxy and our own, the end of everything. And then your companion, the most hated companion ever, Malavai Quinn, says, another galaxy, which you say it was a dwarf galaxy. There is such a galaxy off the outer rim known as the Rishi Maze. And then Vet chimes in, Rishi, I've heard of Rishi, it's a planet, some kind of pirate resort. So that leads you to going on to Rishi. But like the imagery and the vision was interesting. It showed basically what the Emperor wanted to do all along was destroy everything. It does show that. It shows all the stars going dark and everyone dying and all that. So that was I thought that was interesting. I don't know if the Rishi Maze was a clue to the Zakul Empire or just... Probably it was just leading you on to go there to find Theron and Lana, but yeah.
So, the whole point of... Let's just talk about Vitiate's life-sucking rituals. Now, the reason he did that on the theme originally was... What? He was trying to make himself immortal.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. He gained immense power from it, and it appears that as long as he has the energy left over from that ritual, he pretty much can live forever.
And so he wants to keep sucking life out of, well, everyone and everything, to presumably make himself more immortal, or continue his life, extend his life. Or is it something more than that?
I think that second one is the more accurate description, because
extend his
if
life,
he is immortal, then he wouldn't need to bother with keep feeding and stealing lives. So in order to remain, I don't know if I should say it alive, he's not exactly alive in the human understanding.
No.
But he does keep consuming souls and whole planets, to keep himself alive.
So as we discover through the class stories and all the way through, basically, he is now incorporeal. He sort of jumps from body to body. The voice of the Emperor is whoever he's currently occupying. But is there a real body still out there somewhere? That part seemed to be ambiguous. Yeah.
Unfortunately, we do not know that. There is one of the biggest things I discovered was doing the Sith Warrior story just after on Quesh, when Darth Barriss betrays you finally. You get found by the Emperor's hand, and they want you to help them get rid of Barriss. But one thing they do say, which is very, very interesting, is since the Treaty of Coruscant, the Emperor has withdrawn from the known galaxy, preparing for a great calling. And
from
of course,
the known galaxy. What does that mean?
It's like, what the hell does that mean? We have absolutely no idea what that means.
Is wild space, which is part of the Star Wars galaxy, is that considered part of known space?
No. It's always going to be the Republic, Hutt space. All right, and now I'm just going off memory because remember with the whole topsy-turvy of the canon, because now Disney owns the IP, the maps that we had to go off of originally were all from the EU.
Yep.
And, they did a beautiful job for the past 3 decades expanding that whole storyline. So, we've got Republic space, Hutt space, then you have wild space, and then you have the unknown regions of the galaxy.
And that is outside the known.
That's outside the known. Like everything leading there has been lost. Okay, and originally that's where the Chiss are from unknown regions.
Yeah.
Okay, and I don't think you meet them until that one duology with Luke and Mara when Luke and Mara finally get hitched. Okay, when you first meet the Chiss, and no one knows anything going on there, and I think very few civilizations are left. I mean, other than the Gree, okay, who are one of the oldest in the galaxy, and then the Rakata, who obviously become so stupid over time that they've lost all knowledge. And I think those are only one of the few alien civilizations that actually has probably in their possession a complete map of the Star Wars galaxy.
Back when they were the big dogs.
Right, back when they were space ran. Because remember, if you ever played
Infinite
KOTOR 1
Empire.
and you first meet, the Rakata, all right, they actually were the Infinite Empire because they ruled the entire Star Wars galaxy.
Yep.
Yeah.
They were all four corners of the galaxy. So
I seem to remember.
Yes, but the only reason they were allowed to rule the whole galaxy and explore it all is because their technology. That's what allowed them to keep traveling through great distances. What was
Right.
Dark side power
the
technology.
technology called?
yes,
Yes.
the dark side of the Force with their technology and their, the things like the Starforge helping them out.
Yeah.
Do you recall an
Yeah.
interview recently where they revealed that they've been a bit cagey about where the Zakul Empire and Zakul itself is, where they came from? But I thought they said something about wild space.
Yes. Oh, I don't recall them ever saying anything about
So what
that,
did they
but
say?
at a cantina they did say something. It was I'm trying to find it in my notes. It was I think it was the Anaheim, the Star Wars Celebration cantina.
Yep.
They do actually say something about that. Oh, there it is. Somebody asked at the Anaheim Cantina, apparently, will we ever get to see the Emperor in his... Oh, wait, that's not it. Never mind. I was thinking of something else. But yeah. Although it was an IGN interview. That's right. There was an
That sounds
IGN
right.
interview.
Yep. Do you
Where
recall
they were
where they
saying-
said they were from?
All I have is Bruce McLean said that, all they were willing to say about the Zuko Empire is that they're on the edges of the areas we have dealt with in SWTOR.
Right. Now, does that count as where Vitiate nicked off to? Outside the
Possibly.
dome? Yeah.
I
So-
assume.
The big question, of course, is what is the association between Vitiate and Valkorion and his Zakul Empire, if any? If any. Because what the
Well-
hell happens to Vitiate between the end of
I would like to
Zost?
bring you back for a moment on the topic about the origins of the Zaku Empire. We know that in the very beginning of the Great Galactic War, Vitiate escapes, and at least in my imagination, he actually goes to hide in the unknown regions. This very same region we talked a moment ago. This is where he established himself as the new emperor. Since then, he becomes known just as the Sith Emperor and nothing else. This is where he begins prolonging his life. He begins learning about the dark side, and this is where he starts accumulating other beings, force and energy and power to keep himself sustained. So I'm thinking this is also somewhere in the unknown region where the Zaku Empire originated, and he found it, or probably it found him, and there somewhere would lie the connection between Vitiate and the Zaku Empire. My personal wild speculation is Vitiate will be controlling
I can't
Valkorion.
really hear you, but hopefully you get the message that we...
But I absolutely
What's
don't have anything to back this up. It would just be cool, in my opinion, to have the emperor, the ex-emperor, because we know that they deny him already. Even the empire denies Vitiate as their emperor anymore. But it would be very cool if he's actually controlling Valkorion, and through him he's controlling the full Zaku Empire. This would make sense to bring all of the characters together and give them a meaning to exist and keep existing. We know that Vitiate has been an important character for over 1 year now in the game, and even more longer than this, depending how many and which of the stories people have played through. But in the last 1 year since 3.0, Vitiate became the centerpiece, the center bad, negative figure in the game. And everything is about him. To make him disappear or give him a side role just after the destruction of Zyos would be a stupid idea. So I believe he's either related, because I know what Rechu is going to say. There is speculation that they are probably brothers. And I've read Wikipedia. There is a half-brother to the Emperor, but...
No,
Yeah, there
surely
was.
not.
That did come out shortly
There is
after
that
the
half-brother
sacrifice
who
trailer.
apparently...
Yeah.
He was apparently considered very weak-minded and weak physically, so he didn't deserve a Sith title, and he didn't seek it. But Vitiate was something different, and one of the speculations that you listed in the notes was exactly that they're probably brothers, and that's what the connection between them would be.
But Vitiate is thousands of years old, or 1,000 years old, roughly. How could he possibly survive so long? Valkorian, that is.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Well, if they're both in touch with the dark side of the Force, and we all know how the Sith. Well, look at Lord Zash. Okay, how she prolongs her life. Okay, so maybe the same process. Over the years, over the centuries, Vitiate has just gone from body to body. All right, so big spoiler if you haven't played the Sith Inquisitor line. Okay, so when Zash tries to take you over. All right. It may be the same process. Maybe Vitiate's original body is just long gone. Okay. And he's just been hopping around from body to body, and as he's grown in power, it just takes longer for that host body to decay. And maybe he's just tired of hopping around. Maybe he just wants to make it permanent and become indestructible, which is why he's assumed his incorporeal form. At the moment.
Right. There's also
the body of Valkorian.
There's also Lord Scourge that Vitiate grants him immortality basically by burning away his mortality, essentially. So, and when he did it to Lord Scourge, it didn't feel like it was an experiment. It felt like he knew what he was doing. I mean, he basically explains to him what, this is the price of immortality and this is what's going to happen. In time you will be able to overcome the pain because the pain never goes away. And then after a while you'll eventually become numb. And perhaps he knows all this because he's done it before. Maybe Valkorian is an example of someone he's done this to before.
He's not, but also the Emperor's Hand are also, like Lord Scourge, they're immortal. The Emperor makes them immortal. Yeah, so it's not just him, it's the hand as well. Which, they're the only people they're Sith that actually know, they're linked to Vitiate's mind. They're the only ones that actually know what he's up to.
Right.
So, yeah.
So immortality is apparently not that hard to get, but so maybe all this life-sucking is more about power. And the ability to do this, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
More life he sucks, the more powerful he gets.
Right, and plus two, if you're familiar with KOTOR 2, the Sith Lords, all right, the lead character there, remember, he feeds because he has to. All right, so maybe as Vitiate grows, in attaining this particular power, Vitiate not only to further his plans to eradicate all life, become immortal, he has to do it. He wants to do it. Because he needs to do it. His quote unquote his body or his spirit needs that energy because it craves it. Right. So he's forced to go out and just consume life anywhere he finds it because he has to.
And so the actions of the Eternal Empire, led by Valkorian, which may or may not be part of Vitiate, who knows, certainly do feed into his Vitiate's goal of more and more death and destruction.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
It does imply a connection.
I think it does. I think there will definitely be some kind of connection.
All right. Anything else that you found out, Rachel, about Vitiate that is worth going over at this point?
I did want to go over his whole life, just so people could get a sense of how he gained his power and all of that.
Now, we did talk through that in the second spoiler cast, so we sort of got an audio record of that. Maybe
Okay.
you just want to hit the highlights or the stuff that's important leading forward.
Yeah. No, it's just
Or run through
yeah,
it
I
again,
want
just as
yeah.
a refresher.
I won't go over everything. I just wanted to go over lesser known parts like his childhood and
Okay.
all that. I just thought that was interesting.
Sure.
So I'm going to read it directly from the novel because I'm too lazy to transcribe it. Yeah. So for the context, if you haven't read the Revan novel, this is Darth Nihilus is telling Lord Scourge about Vitiate's childhood. So the Emperor's name was Tenebrae, she began. They say he was born with eyes as black as the void of empty space, and that he never cried, even as an infant. No animal would come near him, and when he began to talk, his voice carried the weight and power that should not come from a child. At the age of 6, he began to manifest signs of the Force, marking him as one of the ruling elite, because he was born a Sith. But his parents were simple farmers, and the Force was not strong in them. Suspicious about the boy's power, his father confronted his mother, who admitted to having an affair with the Sith Lord who ruled over them. The father flew into a rage, attacking the boy's mother. Tenebrae stopped him, beating on his father's anger and hate to call upon the dark side. He snapped his father's neck with a mere thought, killing him instantly. His mother died more slowly. Tenebrae made her suffer for months as punishment for betraying the family, torturing her with the Force as he honed his powers. Now orphaned by his own hand, he made the others in his village bow down to him. Those who refused he tortured and killed through the Force. And he goes on over the years to continue this trend of conquering villages and torturing people that didn't agree to follow him and all of that. And then Tenebrae's father was named Lord Dramas. He was the ruler of the planet Nasima, although it was called something else, I believe, at one point as well.
Mm-hmm.
He heard rumors of what was happening, but he thought all that was happening was beneath him. There's a few villages off in the middle of nowhere, he didn't really care about it. And then eventually he decided, like 3 or 4 years later, he decided to go and check out Vitiate and see what the Tenebrae he was known as, was all about. So Lord Dramus intended to judge the child's power to determine if he was worthy of serving the Sith Lord, or if he should simply be executed. But Tenebrae had no intention of serving or of dying. When they met face to face, Tenebrae proved the stronger. Only 10 years old, he stripped his father of his power and his mind. Lord Dramus spent his last moments weeping in terror, gazing into the black eyes of his son. And then from then on, Tenebrae went on to conquer the whole planet in a few years. And then Mark Arachnos, I think, was it Mark Arachnos? Yes, Mark Arachnos granted him the title Lord Vitiate, and he sat back and ruled into Seema. He ruled for 100 years before the Great Hyperspace War started, and didn't get involved at all. He stayed away well out of that. He was known to be a Force scholar, so that was his thing. Most notably, you find that all along when you're reading about Vitiate, is that he's never really interested in the politics or anything. He just leaves other people to do that and focuses on honing his powers of the dark side. So, yeah. Does anyone have anything to say about that? I just think it's interesting just how powerful he was from a young age, and how he was, he's just one of those people that was born with that very strong connection to the Force. And I just thought, from the beginning he's been this evil person. Yeah.
And somehow he is unique in that by death he can somehow gain power.
Mm-hmm.
Do you recall, did they explain in Revan where he learned that ritual? The one they uses on the Thema? Or did he just make it up himself?
They don't know if they made it up, or if he discovered it, or if he adapted it from a simpler one or anything like that.
He might have adapted it from something from one of the way more ancient Sith. I don't really know.
Just an aside, IT's in chat says, Valkorian has children and puts them through the test to have a suitable host for his next generation of life.
That's very
possible.
interesting take, yeah.
Yeah,
Very interesting.
for sure. Yeah, that's a possibility.
So has Vitiate always been Valkorian is another interesting question.
I think it's possible that they are actually the same person, but yeah.
Okay. Alright, keep going.
Alright,
In the trailer, there is that very weird look the father is doing just in the moment before Texan jumps, attempting to kill him. There is that little yellow or orange spark in the eyes of the Emperor that doesn't seem real. So it's almost as if he's not himself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
The dark
for sure.
Yeah. So it was either a symbol of the dark side, him just going all dark and nasty, or, as you say, it could be something else.
An outside control.
Yeah, maybe. Now, just a quick production note, Rachel. I wouldn't want to go more than another hour.
Okay.
So take that into consideration.
Yeah.
I suspect we can probably get through a lot of this or with that in that time, but okay.
Yeah, but I have to work Monday, so if you can finish by the evening of Sunday, that would be nice.
Don't worry, mate. We'll let you go back to bed.
Yeah. Alright, so
I haven't been to bed in 12 hours.
God.
Oh.
Poor bastard. Alright. Sorry.
Alright, so I just wanted to talk about briefly the ritual on Nasima and what happened on Nasima, because we've seen kind of what happened on Zyos, and I actually think it's a little different what happened on Nasima to what happened on Zyos, but basically what happened was after the Great War, it was ending, the Sith had lost, Jedi were annihilating them, and so Vitiate took advantage of the situation and called all the Sith to come to Nasima to, have a chat, I think. A council. Yeah, that's the more proper word. So he lured them in, and it turns out it was to get them to participate in a ritual to unlock the full potential of the dark side. He promised they would unleash beyond anything they'd ever witnessed or imagined. And of course, that's not what happened.
Well, it was. They did.
It is. It just didn't leave them alive to enjoy it.
It just benefited one person.
Yeah, exactly. Once they arrived on Nasima, they quickly fell under Lord Vitiate's control. He dominated their minds, crushed their resistance, turned them into slaves to his will, forced them to participate in the most complex ritual of Sith sorcery ever attempted. Calling on the dark side, Lord Vitiate devoured them. He fed on their power, absorbing it into himself, utterly obliterating all traces of his victim. But as we know, the ritual was not confined to the Sith Lords. They were just the eye of the storm, and the vortex spread across the entire planet. Every man, woman, and child on Nasima died that day. Every beast, bird, and the fish or the insects, plants, every living thing touched by the Force was consumed. And so that we witnessed that on Zyos as well. Basically, a similar process happened, where the living Force was just sucked out of everything.
Yep.
So there's that. So I think a couple of differences I've seen is with Zyos, I don't know, Vitiate seems to he does actually do that. He takes control of Sith and soldiers and gets them to kill people. But we don't actually know what he did on Nasima or if that was the same thing that happened. It's not that specific what the ritual actually was.
And the ritual on Zyos
well, maybe
was
one
clearly a lot
important
quicker.
difference between the events is that on Notima he actually makes, I don't know how exactly to call it, but he makes an attempt to hide the whole planet and its existence and the history of the planet from the records. So everything and everybody located there would be loyal to him. And that doesn't happen with Zyos, as far as I remember.
No.
I don't think that's quite right. He wipes Nathema off the records, but that's only after they leave to go find Drummond Koss.
Yeah.
He doesn't want anyone going back and finding out that the Force has been stripped from the entire planet, because it might turn people against. It would turn people against him. In fact, that's how they convinced Scourge to turn against the Emperor.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's the later one on Ziost. We don't know of anyone else that had to help him. He was maybe able to do that more or less by himself at that point. So
Yeah.
he was stronger by Ziost than he was with Nathema, where he first had to take over all the powerful Sith Lords and use their power to finish the ritual. So, and then the weird thing is the one on Yavin 4, because that machine was meant for the Emperor to use. Revan ends up using it, but it was meant for the Emperor to use. So apparently this sort of thing can happen through some sort of Sith machinery too. Some sort of, powerful dark side, arcane machinery thing going on.
Yeah.
So it can also happen that way.
So what happened on Ziost? We've seen no evidence of any kind of machinery, and it just happens.
Yeah.
It just
exactly.
happens. He just done.
Yeah.
So it's just
I think
become
it's
really
because
good at it.
Ziost is an ancient Dark Force world filled with Dark
Yes,
Force.
it's
And
very strong with the
that's
dark
one of the
side.
reasons why Vitiate would pick it, because the Dark Force existence there would allow him to do whatever he is planning easier, and he would not have to rely on preparations and on smaller
Maybe
armies,
so.
for example.
Okay.
He's
That's
just using the
plausible.
Dark Force
Yeah.
that's existing there.
Which
Yeah,
means in other
keep-
worlds he would not have that advantage.
At least not
keep-
yet.
Yeah, with after the Jedi Knight defeats the Emperor's voice at the end of Chapter 3, that's where Vitiate goes. Wherever he is, he goes to Yavin to rest and recuperate. And is going to use that machine. So that was his plan, kind of all along. And the Revanites kind of helped that, I suppose.
Yeah, it feels like when you put all this together, it feels like the Emperor or Vitiate needs. I mean, he can do it, but he just needs a jump start.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
Every planet he's been to, he needs a plethora of death to fuel it, and then he'll have enough to actually start the ritual. Like, he knows it, but he just knows that he needs
He needs to prime the
fuel.
pump.
Yeah, he has to prime it, and then when he actually has enough, he can actually, turn it over, and it starts, and he can do it. And I guess it's just easier now with dark side aligned worlds, okay, or with the with the M4, the machine there. So
Yeah.
maybe he's got a whole nest of worlds around the galaxy that are already prepped, because he has been around for a long time.
And then we saw that. Yeah, we saw that with the Jedi Knight story. He had 3 different planets where he was planning to use this startup wars to sacrifice enough life to apparently wipe out all life in the galaxy. And he had 3 different planets prepped, and the Jedi Knight was able to stop all of them. So he's just overly zealous, I guess. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
Alright, what else do we know, Rachel?
It is a fact that it doesn't really matter how many times he will attempt it, because he's not in a rush. He is keeping
exactly.
himself immortal in one state or another, and regardless of how many times he will attempt and fail, he is prepared and willing to wait as long as it has to until he wins. And eventually, although we hope it won't happen, one day he will win, regardless of how many years, hundreds of years or thousands of years he's going to have to wait for that. It's his
He's
ultimate
incredibly
goal,
patient.
and he doesn't obey the laws of the normal living beings.
No.
The years and the time just doesn't matter to him.
No.
Though, looking forward, assuming that this continuity is actually attached to modern-day Star Wars, certainly the attention of the Old Republic back in when the EU pre-Legends, clearly by the time of the Rule of Two, none of this stuff ever happened. So, or it's all been taken care of somehow. So, whatever happens to this shit,
Should happen pretty
He's no
soon.
longer around.
something happened to end the threat and end his planet-sucking, life-sucking.
Right.
Right. And the thing is,
But anyway.
Bioware has a lot of leeway that they can work with, because as we see
True.
through
Oh, for
all the
sure.
stories, okay, in one way, form, or another, okay, with I think especially with the Sith Warrior, all right, you're tasked on Corellia. What are you doing? You're destroying the museum. All right, you're destroying the history of the Jedi, and that's happened throughout the millennia between the Jedi and the Sith, or even the Jedi and Dark Jedi. When the Jedi first split during the Force Wars, you have the Dark Jedi destroying whatever artifacts they have, the original Jedi on Tython. So they want their history erased.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, BioWare has a beautiful opportunity to say, you know what, we'll write something here that can fill in those gaps nicely and just flesh it out.
Right. Later erased, so that that's why they don't know about it in the future.
And it's something that we can rediscover, as the months and years progress with the game.
Nice. Yeah? That would be very convenient for them, story-wise. Yeah, okay. Right, Rachel, we're next.
That's the other thing I wanted to talk about is Revan, because we know he was imprisoned for 300 years with Vitiate.
Yep.
And they were in each other's minds, apparently. Revan was able to influence and convince the Emperor that peace was the better option, which led to the Treaty of Coruscant.
Well,
Right. He basically played on his fears, essentially. That, that the Republic would prove too strong and he would overwhelm the Empire, and somehow the Emperor might get killed that way.
Yep.
But I don't know, it just got me thinking, like, how much did Revan actually know about Vitiate's plans? And did Revan just ultimately play into Vitiate's plan anyway, with the whole Shadow of Revan thing? I think it kind of seems like he did, it helped him. But
right. Well,
I don't know.
As much as I wanted to believe Revan in Shadow of Revan when he was saying he was going to, awaken the Emperor and then so that he could destroy him, it seemed like every other character essentially countermanded that and said, no, that's not what's going to happen. You're just going to release him and that's going to be the end of it. You're going to die and we'll all die and that's it. So it seems
right into his hands. Yep.
Yeah. And if we believe the people from the Foundry who suggest that he was actually released by the Emperor to go find the Foundry, so the Emperor would know where that is, then it would suggest that the Emperor is more in control than Revan is.
Yeah, I think that as well. So,
Revan is being played.
I think Revan got played big time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Though there was the Jedi entity.
Yeah.
What's her face? Surik, the
Mitra
protagonist.
Mitra,
Yes.
right?
Yep, the protagonist in KOTOR 2, we all know what happens to her at the end of Revan, the novel. Yep, and obviously is helping Revan, apparently.
She wouldn't... I think she's kind of stayed with him, with Revan after he got captured.
Yes, that's
even
right.
though she was in
spirit.
spirit form.
Right.
And then she realized what was happening to Revan. He was slowly being driven to darkness, so that's why I think she got Master Oteg to assemble a team which turns out to be us Republic players to go and rescue Revan to stop that from happening. But then that ends up playing in with Vitiate, with the Emperor's plans anyway, and yeah.
So has the Emperor actually suffered a defeat in all this time, really? The Jedi Knight, at the end of the Jedi Knight class story, obviously kills one of his voices.
Yeah.
And apparently that was a big deal somehow. Different to killing his voices generally. So why was that?
Darth Marsh suggested that it not only killed that one, but it also harmed his spirit, potentially.
Yeah.
So it would have been more than just it would have been more of a setback than just about anything else that's happened to him.
Because basically, all your as a Jedi Knight, all your efforts, like you go to each planet and stop all these plans, that actually weakens him to some extent.
Right.
So when you confront him on Dromund Kaas, he's in a little bit weaker, but still super powerful anyway. But you still manage to defeat his voice, and obviously you don't actually defeat him. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. What else do we know?
I think we've gone over quite a lot of stuff already. We've gone over in lots of different directions and.
Yeah. Now let's bring up what you mentioned earlier about the Anaheim live stream where the question was asked: Will we ever get to see the Emperor in his original true body as a pureblood? Because that's what he was according to the Revan novel.
The Nathema story.
Talked about,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Jesse Sky says one of the great things about the Emperor is that he is all powerful. he can take many forms. And that's all I'm willing to say. And then Musco piped up with "Stay tuned." And developer Michael Backus chimes in with, "What if his true blood form isn't his original actual form? What if there is more to the story?" And Musco, insert eyebrow raise.
What if the beginning of the Emperor doesn't just start with the birth of that small child?
Yeah, what happens?
What if just the birth of the child is just another, or maybe the first, or yet another body that carries the mind and the existence of the real, true Vitiate?
Yeah, I think my point is, like, with all this research I've been doing, like, into Vitiate's past and just seeing what he's done in the game, I just think that without a doubt that he has to be involved with the Zakul Empire somehow. He's been playing events in the galaxy for thousands of years now, so
Yeah.
I think that's the point I just want to try to make to people, because there's a lot of people that seem to think it's a separate thing, but
Right.
I don't think it is at all.
I mean, just from a story perspective, as we talked about previously, you can't just end everything that's led up to Rise of the Emperor and then suddenly, oh no, so he solved
Yeah, exactly,
you
exactly.
thread. No, it just doesn't make
it's-
sense.
No, it
make sense.
doesn't make sense at all. No.
Well,
Yeah.
if we go back to that, if we run with that idea, or as who is it, Psycho Battle in chat mentioned that maybe they're all just Horcruxes, okay? And if Valkyrian is a part of Vitiate, okay, and the Zakul Empire has been kept away hidden for its own purpose, maybe it's because at this point in the story, I'm just speculating here, the Empire and the Republic have gotten to the point to where they actually will sue for peace because they've exhausted themselves so much that they have to stop fighting.
exactly.
And now Vicious says, no, you need to keep fighting. So guess what? Now I'll bring in a third player, a third faction.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That way the death and destruction continues because you have to fight now for your own survival.
Yeah, that's the thing with the Treaty of Coruscant as well. Like, it was kind of strange how that all of a sudden the Empire was on the upper hand and was, geared to defeat the Republic, and then bam, the Treaty of Coruscant comes along. So yeah,
Though
and-
with Suresh running the Republic, chances of suing for peace seem a little bit unlikely.
yeah. Now she
Yeah,
just
but
wants-
maybe not. Yeah.
It seems like, I don't know, we don't know that much about, outside of what we've done since our class stories, what's happening in the greater galaxy. It kind of seems like things are in a stalemate kind of position. They're kind of both factions are fairly strong, but one's not powerful enough to completely defeat the other one. I don't know, that's just the impression I get. I don't know.
Right, it's just that things happen on both factions to where it's just enough to tip the balance for a little bit, and then eventually just swings back the other way. And if Vitiate really is controlling everything, then he's just playing it to the point, all right, I'll get them to this point, swing it back the other way, get them back here, and then when I need to, I'll introduce this third player that I have had all along
Right.
in Valkyria and the Zakul Empire, and spreading the conflict because, all right, to tie into the Rishi Galaxy, I was thinking maybe if the Zakul Empire isn't from Wild Space or the Unknown Regions, maybe they're the reason why no one has ever really come back from the Rishi Maze because
Yeah,
the Zakul
that's
Empire
what
is
I
there.
was thinking, yeah.
They're
Yeah.
complete isolationists,
Ooh.
and they're just wiping out everyone there and letting, quote unquote, select few people go back with wild stories and rumors. Yeah, I found treasure. Oh yeah, it's a great place. Or don't go there, man. It's just too crazy.
Yeah.
So, along those lines, have we got any hints yet about why the Zakul Empire is so effective? And clearly, from all we've known so far, both factions are pretty much wiped out, or at least forced back to their homeworlds, or whatever.
Well, the core
Why?
worlds.
There's a. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rachel.
No, I was just saying they attack the core worlds, so I don't know how that works.
And-
Yeah, you go on.
And I think there's also a quick little. If you watch the trailer, okay, and if you watch the background soldiers, all right, the others are cool. I guess knights in their armor. Some of them look like they have force pikes or saber staves.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and remember you mentioned earlier that two of the sky troopers that you're fighting they're force sensitive.
Mm.
If they're really that effective, maybe this is something that the Sith have always wanted, where you actually have. All right, no, the Sith Empire has been known in the Swartron universe. Okay, it's the Sith who are the force sensitives, and then the citizens that they rule, who are non-force sensitive. Maybe the Zakul Empire is a freaking nightmare because everyone in the Zakul Empire is a force sensitive.
Maybe so. Yeah.
And if so, all right, maybe they're not powerful enough to be a knight or a Sith warrior or whatever, but they're all force sensitive, so they have some degree of power that they can exercise. Right. And we all know that, there is, kurtosis exists. All right, it's a lightsaber resistant metal. Okay, and if they have armor without, you see it in the game, KOTOR games, in SWTOR, armor, blades, weapons made out of it will stop a lightsaber cold. And if that's the case, then you have soldiers that can fight not only knights, Sith warriors, Sith inquisitors, but they can kill Imperial soldiers and Republic troopers like a knife going through butter. And that'd be a frightening sight to see.
So that would explain ground combat. What about space in terms of fleets going at it?
Yeah, the technology in the ships. Yeah, I don't know.
We don't know.
They seem pretty cool. It looked pretty cool in the trailer. So.
Oh, well, yeah. Remember that? There's that one line that the Sith warrior gives Mar. I think at the beginning of Makeb, to where I think your character says, if it was that somewhat based on technology, we would have won the war.
Yeah, it was
the Empire
5. Yeah,
I think because the Empire in SWTOR and even in the New Hope timeline, okay, in the EU, the Empire there is years ahead of the Republic in terms of technology. Right. But remember, things happen to help the Republic survive and overcome that disadvantage. And maybe the Zakul Empire, or maybe they have technology like more closer to what we see in the Gree. All right, they've got that kind of technology where they're that powerful to where they can just raffle stomp both fleets. Okay.
I guess it must have happened,
Makeb,
otherwise they wouldn't have been rolled back so easily.
Mentioning Makeb made me think that there have been many conflicts in the span of a few years, probably about 5, but yes, we don't know exactly how many have passed. First, it was the Hutt cartel with Makeb. Then they had Revan. In both these occasions, the Empire and the Republic factions had to fight with a common enemy. And this more or less is exhausting them, especially the conflict with Revan. They've exhausted a lot of resources and they've been weakened. Combine that with the fact that the Zakku Empire has been completely isolated and they have been developing whatever they have been developing, we'll learn hopefully soon, completely outside of the knowledge for anybody and everybody. They are a lot more prepared, and if they're really controlled by Vitiate, that gives them even the extra little bit of power that makes it more than easy for them to overcome the weakened Republic and Empire factions.
Wow, galactic battle meditation.
There was the whole Dreadmasters conflict as well that both sides got into as well. So.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
It is another common issue for both factions.
Yeah.
Right.
How can I forget the Dreadmasters?
And another one with connections to Vitiate.
So many times.
Yes,
Yeah.
you do. Yeah.
So again, he might have another instance where he could use a third party, so to speak, to actually sort of influence what was happening between the Empire and the Republic.
Although once you free the Dreadmasters from Belsavus, they kind of just reject the Emperor and do their own thing after that. Want to be their own thing, but yeah. Maybe that was playing again into his plan, so...
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was also that quote, I'm quoting by memory, but I saw it in your notes. Vitiate tells to the Sith warrior, I have eluded or avoided death, and now I have other plans. This means he has already been preparing his next step after eventual defeat or a setback on Zost. And that means that his plan for and with eventually the Zakku Empire has been already going on behind the scenes for God knows how long.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he says, I have cheated death. I have other plans now, as you will see. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably one of the key lines.
Yes,
come
and
across.
then on Yavin it was Commander Ivan, that crazy Imperial Guard guy that's rambling mad.
Yes.
Yeah, he also says, oh wait, it was Jedi
Plans
Knight
within
of the Sith
plans or
Warrior.
something like that.
Plans within plans always. Yeah. Just trying to find it. Oh, here we go. Plans within plans always. This too has been foreseen. All possibilities are witnessed and adjusted for. So.
Yeah, that's just conspiracy thinking. You can't be that good.
Yeah. Well, he did have his light side connection with Revan for a time, so he was able to see visions, but then, yeah. The other factor with Revan as well, he was using his connection to the light side to find out stuff. But, yeah, obviously he still wanted Revan's dark side more than anything. No, yeah.
Well, plus you can remember too that powerful Sith, they can also manipulate Force visions. You've seen it, in the Dark Horse comics and in the EU novels, to where, how the Jedi always rely on the Force for knowledge. Okay, then remember that the Sith can manipulate visions too. They can project what they want, so that someone else can pick it up. And I mean, remember when when Luke was training on Dagobah? Okay, he was seeing what Vader wanted him to see. Torturing Han and Leia, so that he knew that Luke would feel it. Get those visions in his head and somehow prey upon that, and somehow use that to guide him to where he needed him to be. And if maybe Vitiate's that powerful, I mean, if he has that kind of connection to the Force, who says he can't, or maybe he doesn't? He has that ability to, somehow interject, not in a big way, but just here and there over the years, over the millennia. Little things here and there, planting thoughts, false visions here and there, so that people actually believe it or act upon it, and that just helps drive his plans along.
All right, Rachel, do you want to go through, just do a quick pass and let us know, and just call out anything else you want to throw into the mix, and then we'll just do some final speculation. We touched on a lot, but you've got a lot here.
We went all over the place a lot. A lot of the stuff I additionally had was just searching through the class stories and through the game for more clues about Vitiate, so we don't necessarily have to go through every single detail from those.
Okay.
Just trying to see.
Maybe just worth mentioning while you're searching that from all the appearance of Vitiate throughout the character stories, the origin stories, the end of the Jedi Knight is probably the most important one, at least in my eyes, because this is the biggest, if we can call it defeat, this would be the biggest defeat that he's ever suffered, or maybe the most major setback.
Yeah, for sure.
So, Darth Maul says, and you mentioned this earlier, just the specific quote was, "You destroyed his body," referring to Vitiate, "even wounded his spirit, perhaps more than anyone before you, but that was not enough. The Emperor's current state is nebulous, incorporeal. To strike at him, Revan will first have to return him to a physical form. He will destroy Revan, then move on to the rest of us. In time, he will consume all life in the galaxy." So does that mean that with that ritual, he is actually corporeal somewhere? So maybe you were right originally that, yes, he is now corporeal in a body.
Possibly, although Mar actually says right after the end of the Revan fight, he didn't assume a corporeal form. He just left.
Okay.
It doesn't make any sense. So if
the
he did, he
corporeal-
didn't do it. He didn't do it on.
Yeah.
He didn't do it on Yavin, but he might have done it later.
Or somewhere else. There's just one thing that's interesting is, like, the whole Shadow of Revan and Zaya stories are basically a continuation of both the Jedi Knight and Sith Warrior stories. They've just kind of merged the stories into one. That's what we're getting going forward, is we're getting 2 out of the 8 class stories going forward, basically.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I know, basically the whole Shadow of Revan story felt like it was made for the Sith Warrior, and of course the Jedi Knight to a degree as well. But the Sith
Yeah,
Warrior,
definitely.
yeah, even even at the end, like the Sith Warrior gets their own special line that no other class gets, obviously, which I thought was really cool. Trying to find what Vitiate says to the Sith Warrior. It's all over the place. Oh yeah. Here he says, "Do not fret, Raph. You are still special to me. That is why I will kill you last." Oh, how sweet.
Charming.
So, yeah.
Well, he was the Emperor's Wrath, so...
Yeah, you got rid of Barris for him, and you did all this other stuff for him. So. Yeah.
That's from the end on Corellia, right?
Mm-hmm.
No.
No,
Because
that
I do remember-
was
In a Shadow of Revan?
that was after you defeat Revan and Vitiate, appears.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, not really appear.
I
But,
do remember. I do remember the Emperor being kind of happy welcoming back the Rat as one of the first
Yeah.
possible victims. I don't know how to express it. He welcomes him on Zost with a line something like, "I was surprised to see you here. I told you I will leave you for last, but you seem impatient to die."
Yeah.
I can't find the quote.
Yeah, I've got it
Yeah.
in there, but he says special stuff on Zyos to both the Sith Warrior and Jedi Knight separate, so says different dialogue to them, so that's really cool as well. But nothing really too, special.
Okay, any more backstory?
Well, I think we've gone over the main key points, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff. As you pointed out,
Yeah.
there's so many threads here. And it all sort of connects together. Often that is just by accident, but sometimes... Or we just imagine those connections, but... This all seems a little well-laid plans here.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so why don't we finish then the spoiler cast with some speculation, which we've already been doing as we've been going, about where will the story take us specifically and let's come up with some definitive positions on whether Vitiate is involved or not. And where do we think the Zakul Empire, etc. Where is all this going? What is the end game here? Because it really could go anywhere at this point. Though I know we know where it finally ends up, but there's a lot of space in between to fill in.
Exactly.
Alright, so...
While I was watching the new trailer, I couldn't make myself believe that the Emperor Valkorion is actually an evil person. At first, his looks, his style, his face, his facial lines, they all speak of a good soul and a good person. And yet at the same time, he's very empty from the inside. He expressed absolutely no feelings towards his sons, towards anything. How exactly would the Zaku Knights and everything about and inside the Zaku Empire worship this person if he's so empty and soulless? This speaks to me of an outside control of some sort. That's why I again want to mention that I believe this person is not himself, and for unknown amount of time he has been under the control of Vitiate. He is just one of the tools and one of the instruments, one of the bodies that he is overtaking, if you want to say it like this.
Or he's just a psychopath with limited...
If he is absolutely careless what's happening with his two sons, why would the whole empire worship that person? What kind of an empire is this? There is absolutely no mention in the brothers, what do you call it? In the brothers' blog by Courtney, there is absolutely no mention that this person is controlling the whole empire with dark force, with fear, or with something else. Yeah. To me, it speaks of just love and respect. You don't earn love and respect by the living beings that you control, displaying this kind of emotionless behavior towards your own two sons.
Interesting. You can probably accomplish it with a lot of brainwashing and complete control of media and things like that.
Yeah, and generally, yeah, the ordinary people wouldn't see what he's really like anyway. Would never ever get to actually see that. So
Right.
Yeah, 'cause I
they
remember
That's
could
true.
easily manipulate.
I think
Yeah.
earlier we mentioned the
But-
comparison how the two empires, like I would see the Sith Empire we see in Tor, like feudal Europe, okay, where the Sith are the nobles, and everyone else are, they're just the serfs,
Yeah.
the peasants.
Yeah.
Whereas opposed to the Zakul Empire reminds you of something, the devotion and I guess fanaticism reminds me of some of the ancient civilizations like Egypt, how the Egyptians worship the pharaohs as the living gods, and that's why
Yeah.
you could drive them to make the Egyptian civilization what it is, make all those beautiful mummies, do all that work for their living god because that's how they're supposed to love, that's how they worship. So I guess that's one way you could look at it too.
Oh yes, that makes a lot of sense, Lou.
Right.
But does that imply a connection to Vitiate or not? Well, it doesn't, does it? They kept it very, very vague at this point.
Indeed, they have.
All right, who wants to go next? What about Chill?
I'm trying to. Well, for me, the most interesting question for me is: are we going to, like, by the end of the chapters that come out in the next expansion, are we actually going to see an end to Vitiate? Are we actually going to figure out how to, force him into a form that we can then destroy, or is that going to be pushed off even further? So. Obviously, obviously,
Well, I
it's a little
guess-
too early to tell,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
for me, that's the most interesting question. I do think I agree with what you're saying in that it does seem like this emperor is some sort of tool, one way or another, of Vitiate. But we'll see how that relationship develops.
Indeed.
Okay. All right. What about you, Lou?
Yeah, I'm thinking along the lines of that. Somehow, as you mentioned before on Yavin 4, when you fight that crazed, Imperial Guardsman, okay, we're seeing plans within plans within plans, which the Sith are famous for.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking, all right, the Zakul Empire is something that Vitiate a long time ago set into motion.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow has retained influence because remember he can speak across the galaxy to his voice, to his
True.
hands,
Yeah.
to his children.
So he could be
So
anywhere.
why not?
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, because I also think of it as because it reminded me too of with the two towers. Okay, of how Saruman controlled Theoden. At points to where Theoden he could be lucid, do his own thing, but at points when Vitiate needs to, he can take him over.
Yeah.
Set
Yeah.
things in set plans in motion, set people here, set things up here, build stuff here. That way he knows, all right, these pieces are being built, they're being developed. I'll leave them alone now.
Yeah.
Back to this part, and then as I mentioned before, he's going to now unleash this third mysterious faction on the galaxy because he's going to need them to continue the strife, to continue feeding the deaths that needs to be fueling his immortality. And whether or not they're from an unknown space, or maybe that's going to be the one connection to the Rishi Maze, that maybe they are coming from there, and that's allowed them to develop in relative peace away from the prying eyes of the Republic and from the Sith Empire, or from any of the civilizations in the Star Wars galaxy. And because remember, we don't know anything about the Rishi Maze, so maybe that's why they're so powerful, because it's nothing that the galaxy's ever encountered before. Because now you have such strange new technology. Maybe these people, like I said, if they're all Force sensitive or has some sort of connection to the Force, if they're all like that, yeah, that's going to give you quite the edge over anyone in the Star Wars galaxy.
Right.
And it would definitely make you a force to be reckoned with.
So to speak.
Yeah,
No pun
exactly. And maybe with this, this will be the next piece that Vitiate introduces onto the chessboard for the galaxy that he needs to further his plans.
Right. Okay. Yeah. thinking you're definitely on the right track there, Lou. Right, Rachel?
Yeah, I think on the same lines as Lou, and Vitiate all along has been a big player. He's been manipulating events for thousands of years, as I've already said. So he has to be involved somehow. You can't just get rid of him now. You can't build him up, as you said, story-wise. You can't just build him up and then toss him aside and bring in these new guys we have no idea anything about. So I think he is definitely a player somehow. We just can't. We don't have all the pieces yet, obviously. So yeah, I think it's possible they're the same person. That Vitiate's controlling him somehow, Valkyrie somehow, or something like that. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, my own thoughts are obviously similar to what you've all said. I think it's, especially from what Lou was saying, the influence on Valkorion is not necessarily overt. It can be quite subtle,
exactly.
and just directing him and putting the pieces in place. He's had a lot of time. Vitiate has been around for a while now. Has had like 1,000 years to do who knows what. He could have planted the seeds of the Zakul Empire a long time ago, and just been growing it in the background, and then, just when the time is right, he can bring him in to add in all that extra death and destruction that he craves. And so, whether we're going to see him, how clear that's going to become in the story, or will that just be kind of brought out as the story progresses? I mean, who knows, but I think at least at the beginning, it will seem that Vitiate is gone, and that it's all Zakul Empire, and only gradually will they kind of reveal just who's pulling the strings behind the scenes.
Yeah, they're not going to show all their cards straight away for sure.
Right. Or I just had another crazy thought. What if, as we see in the Sacrifice trailer, okay, you have Arcan and Thexan. What if Vitiate and Valkyrian are twins, and this is their fight?
Yeah, that was the rumor that came out shortly after the Sacrifice trailer debuted. It came up on the forums, and there's a lot of speculation, but apparently the thread was deleted, and people were like, conspiracy theory! I'll find, hang on, someone, Swoton Miner actually told me exactly what the thread said. I just gotta find it.
That seems odd for a story speculation thread to be deleted of the official form.
Yeah, so the exact wording of the spoiler, this is all that was written in the post, was Valkyrian and Vitiate are actually brothers. And Arcan and Dexan were an allegory for the Emperor and his brother. Valkyrian and Vitiate were separated in their youth, and now Valkyrian has returned to subsume his brother.
So Vitiate was the nice one? Or...
Yeah, exactly. Valkorion returned to subsume his brother.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
This is turned into some really big Cain and Abel story, and now, like, oh my god, so who's manipulating Cain and Abel now here? What's going on?
We thought Vitiate was bad.
Oh, we can get this guy. This guy.
Yeah, I'd put pretty low probability on that one.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think it's unlikely. Even though he did have a half-brother who ran away when he was conquering Nathema, went to Ryloth, and Revan and Malik found his remains. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's unlikely. I think it's more likely that Vitiate's in control, kind of thing.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Or, as we will eventually find out when all is revealed. Yeah, where do they go after all this? Now, speaking of the 16 chapters, it's been mentioned that is Season 1.
Yep.
And then we get Season 2 after some break, sometime in 2016. And somewhere we'll hopefully add some MMO bits back into SWTOR, but we'll see.
Yeah.
So, obviously, these 16 chapters are not the final... It doesn't all wrap up with this, it just goes on and on and on. So, plenty of stuff to be revealed.
Indeed.
Okay. Any final thoughts before we wrap up, Folk? Haven't fallen asleep.
I keep dreaming of the moment to see Kefes, Malgus, and Vitiate back together in some form. I would really love to see a real and good BioWare-style explanation for this to happen. We know that nobody ever dies in the Star Wars universe, and there is always one way or another to bring back those two. We've already seen one of them being frozen in carbonite, and we know that the other one has been defeated by us, 3, 4 times, 5, I forget already. And he keeps returning, so why not? This time it won't be the Dreadmasters or the ancient alien race. This time it would be probably Valkorion or Vitiate or both, or if they are the same person. Anyway, it will be Vitiate who will bring those two legendary figures back to life.
Leading an army of Kephis clones.
Yep.
That
After
could
all,
work.
the whole universe has been controlled for thousands and thousands of years by the two factions, Empire and Republic. It's not so easy to introduce a whole new one. Regardless of how powerful and prepared they are, they would still need backup. And what better backup than legendary and known figures in the old Republic and Empire era in the
Hell
expanded
yeah.
universe.
I like that future. That's a good one. All right,
The
any final
Zaku
thoughts,
Knights
Jill?
may be powered by force, but that probably won't be enough.
Right. I'm wondering, just kind of stepping back and looking at this from like a game design point of view, I'm thinking it looks to me like maybe the first expansion, Makeb, which you notice we've barely had to touch at all. It basically has almost no ongoing, connection to these stories. I'm wondering if they used Makeb as basically, okay, we need to find out how to make an expansion. We need to know how to, add on to stories and make new worlds on the go while other things are going on in our MMO and so on. And so they used Makeb as sort of a simple, okay, here's a MacGuffin. Everyone go after the isotope, isotope 5, and and that's a pretty basic story to tell. Made more complex by the fact that they have to show up from two different sides. But on the other hand, they don't have to worry too much about, okay, well, we don't have to worry about the overarching Vitiate story. We don't have to worry about that right now. Let's just focus on this interesting little side story. And now that they figured out with Makeb how to make an expansion, they then kind of got back to the story. So Shadow of Revan, very heavy right back into the thick of things, and now they're just going to keep going with that and keep going. So that's kind of what I think, how I feel. I mean, clearly the folks at BioWare just love to tell stories. So, they worked very hard on all the class stories before the game launched. With Makeb, they sort of they were maybe a little afraid. They took a step back. They told a very simple story, and now they're rolling right back into it. Shadow of Revan, huge overarching story, and now they're going into even more driving forward with the storyline. So I'm thinking we're going to see a whole lot of interesting twists and turns that haven't even really been hinted at yet. That's my guess.
Almost certainly. All right, Lou?
I would like to back you up. The reason for Makeb to be like a side story and not really related to everything else is because originally this was planned to be a free update to the game before the free-to-play model was introduced.
Mm-hmm.
And there is little to no reason for BioWare to introduce epic new main story for a free update. Back then, in 2012, they were thinking about this as a free update to give the players something else to farm and go through, something like a side story to have fun with, but not something that would be implemented and important for the future story of the game.
Okay.
Right, so you're saying they fleshed it out into expansion a little bit later once they realized they were going free to play and so on.
I believe they were forced to make it an expansion and build a little bit on it. That's why it was delayed, if you remember. They introduced the free-to-play model, and after that it just seemed like probably easily called the wrong move from financial point of view to make it another easy and free update. So that's why they had to make it a paid expansion.
Right.
After all, they have to earn something from the free-to-play model players.
Right.
Interesting, yes.
And the little side story became bigger side story. They included
Right.
more things within the expansion to make it worth, what was it, $20.
Right. All right, Lou, final thoughts?
Final thoughts? I just can't wait for the time to come around where we actually start seeing this. I'm on the site every day, on a Twitter feed, on a Facebook page, just to see any hints coming down the pipe, any little any little teaser trail from anyone, if they have anything. Any wild rumors, I'm trying to chase them down just to try and piece together what exactly is going to happen because, even though I can't wait to see it, I do want to have a sense of, see where everyone's going. See if all of our ideas are actually coming to fruition. Seeing if we're right, or maybe we just took a complete left turn somewhere else, and they're going in ways we didn't even think about.
Yep.
So yeah, like I said, I'm just sitting here just waiting for it and waiting impatiently. Damn it!
It's coming up pretty fast. It's only, what, 12, 13 weeks now? 12 weeks?
Yeah. It's August now, so...
Yeah.
Wow.
And then it begins, and then they trickle it out to us. Though we do get the first 9 chapters, as discussed earlier, up front. But after that,
Don't
month at a
forget the
time.
possible delay. BioWare is known for delaying major updates and expansions. And this
surely
seems to be
not.
like a big one. Probably the biggest expansion they've ever done. Plus, it's October. In previous years, we saw the expansions coming just about the holiday times, and October is a month earlier.
And didn't that work out well for them?
I think they're
just
doing
gave
that
themselves,
though, 'cause of Battlefront, but yeah.
Oh, probably, yeah, that could be another reason.
Yeah.
Clear the decks for the big guns, so to speak.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, Rachel, final thoughts?
I'm the same as Lou. I'm really excited for the story and looking forward to seeing where it's going and checking out and trying to find everything I can. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm sad about the lack of MMO bits, but I'm still very enthusiastic about the lore. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
Tio, how about you?
I'm absolutely looking forward to it. As Rachel said, I am concerned about the lack of MMO bits. I still think the story strategy that they have adopted is bold and courageous in the Yes Minister sense, if anyone's familiar with that, which you're probably not. But I'm really, really keen to see and play through the story. I just hope they haven't forgotten all the other things that make an MMO an MMO. But yeah, October 20th can't come soon enough.
Soon, BioWare trademark.
Yeah, and let's hope Volk, this time, they are not going to be late. We'll be right on time. All right. So, thank you to our panel for, and special thanks to Rachel for doing all the background research for that, which we've used to talk through. So thank you, Volk. Thank you, Chill, Lou, Rachel, of course. And thank you all for listening. All right, let me just do the outro, and then we're done. You can email questions and comments about this show, the Spoilercast, to OotiniCast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter using @OotiniCast. You can find contact details for us all on our website, OotiniCast.com, which includes how to subscribe to us using iTunes, Stitcher, and the rest. We record the show live every Wednesday, when it's not a Spoilercast, at 4:30 p.m. Pacific. Go to OotiniCast.com/live to find out how to join in. Our theme song is from Mivio's Music Alley. Check it out at music.mivio.com. Thank you, chat room, for joining us in. Now, and could I get everyone to just quickly run through your contact details? So, Volk, where can people find out more about your work?
My work is primarily on YouTube, Volk Sotor, with no spaces, and the same name on Twitch. I'm also very active on Facebook with Volk, and Twitter again with Volk. That's Volk with a double K.
And of course, there is the brand new Volk.com.
Thank you. Probably I should start with that from now on because it's the major point combining everything I do.
The
Nice.
Volk hub, so to speak. All right, Lou?
All right, well, you can follow me on Twitter, GamerGuy11B. I am also affiliated with, Beyond the Stars. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Beyond the Stars. And we're also on Hitbox, because somehow Twitch has lately been disappointing us with tech difficulties. So Hitbox and Beyond the Stars over there.
All right. Rachel?
You can find me on Twitter at Rach_games, and I have my blog zamzamsters.com. And I also do stuff with Talk Community.
Indeed.
Yeah.
All right. Jill, do you want to add anything, or shall we just...
No, just OotiniCast. OotiniCast.com. It's good for me.
All right. So thank you again for listening, everyone, and we'll see you next time. All right, guys, just keep recording. I'm going to stop the broadcast, and then we'll just work out how to sync and export and things like that. So everyone,
Okay.
as I said, thank you. And we should, OotiniCast at least, will be back on Wednesday, and everyone else will be where they usually are. All right, stopping the broadcast, and thank you. Thank you again for watching.